So, with the wire art, it was not collaborative at all. It was neither sequential nor together. People came by and they took various tools and pieces of wire and they went off and were pretty much alone. And so maybe you all start and I'll wrap up at the end.
Want me to start? Oh, okay. So I did a bicycle, of course, because yes, it's right here. I do a lot with bicycles and with health and safety, so I had to put a safety flag on there as well. I ended up actually sitting with her and talking to her while I was making it, and she was doing hers, so I don't know, it came out pretty good.
To me, again, it's all about revelation. I was creating the world, and as I was keeping that world in a round shape, in movement, I wanted to include the energy. That's where the copper wire comes from, and the heart in the center. And I wrapped that energy around the world, and then I had these little individuals that I was curling to put into the world. And I found that as I tried to connect these individuals to the world, they made the world lopsided. And so I was constantly having to shape the world. The individuals changed their shape unlike I wanted them to. And they changed the world itself. So continuing to try to create some kind of cohesion between all of it, everything was affected.
Well, it's not the first time you make a mess. But
Chaos is wonderful.
Edit that out. Okay. All right. So what I made here was a sea dragon, and as much as I loved Dr. Boji's dragons, wings, and they're very intricate and all that, that's beyond my skill set. So I was thinking of another type of dragon that could be within my reach. And so instead of the big wings, it's more of like fins to go around it so that it can go in the water. Made a spiral tail because they tend to have really, really long tails. Tried to make it 3D. It was very hard to get past how can I make this 3D versus 2D. So that was a learning journey in itself, trying to get cross-dimensional dimensions visually. And that's about as far as I can understand my own work.
Well, Dr. Boji had a handout that suggested that we might attempt a simple story and perhaps even try to write a word and just practice writing a word. So when I first took the wire from him, this was my very first experience ever with wire. And it was a real battle between me and the wire. But it looked like a tornado. And I was thinking about what name and what word and what it looked like and what could I possibly accomplish in the amount of time that I had. And so I thought about Dorothy, which is my name, related to tornadoes, the Wizard of Oz. So then that was too complex, and I thought about the quote that Dorothy said, "There's no place like home." So I decided I would try to write home. And this was my attempt at taming the tornado and getting myself back home. So the entire time it was a struggle between myself and the medium, trying to figure out how to make it stand up. I wanted it to be balanced and to have some sort of story written into it. So it wound up sort of as a heart and home, with the tornado sort of out there, but me not in the throes of it anymore. So it was a great experiment, and I really loved working with the wire.
Okay. So for this piece, it's not a three-dimensional piece, so I have to hold it up. The beginning of this piece was really, it was quite simple. How I started, I saw what David was wearing, and he asked me what I want to make, and I said I want to make that. But I think the reflection and the thought really came to me while I was making it as I was fighting the wire, the same way, because it seemed like, oh, I can do that, but it was a lot harder. The wire was not cooperating, and the tools. But anyway, so for me, as I was reflecting, I thought, my entire adult life, it seems like I've been trying to discover and rediscover, and this trip back to New Mexico has brought back a lot of memories. I remember when I first met Grace Ann and David, and I used to be a quite quiet person and don't really speak in front of public, and how David and Grace Ann brought me out of that shell and in theater, in front of a large group of people. So tracing that root of myself, I was born the year of the dragon, and that identity, the dragon, the phoenix in our culture, in the Chinese culture, that relationship and that battle. So I thought, you know what? Why don't I make a piece like that? But as this piece was finished, I showed it to many people, and everybody had different interpretations of it. My husband thought it was a squirrel with a very bushy tail, apparently. And then Henrietta thought it was a seahorse, and horses, so there's a lot of interpretation to the piece, but yeah. So my first wire art. And I wanted to bang on something and make a piece of art with David, so that's a piece.
It's interesting that they talk about struggling with the wire. My wires originally started off with yellow dust all over it. It's not there anymore because of all that handling.
Yeah. On your hands.
Dr. Saval? So I made this for the conference. So I prepared it, and this is that's an ant. So the actor network theory as a form of multiplicity, and I wanted to combine the agile, it says agile seam ant. SEAM is socioeconomic approach to management. And here it says the qualimetric multiplicity. So and this is a kinetic art, so it moves. So I wanted to develop an artistic mode of wire art to relate to SEAM. So.
It's yours.
Wow, no,
It's for me.
I don't know how you're going to get that across the board. We may have to mail it to you. But, I think I should say that every conference I go to, I get 50 pounds of luggage.
Yeah.
This is only fair.
This is the masterpiece of this young man. Only 70. I'm older. Great.
Thank you. Thank you very much. We had a couple of other pieces done this quickly. Judy and her daughter had to leave a little early, so Judy spelled out her name, and they were trying to figure out what animal it is, so I'll let you imagine. So anyway, that represents the wire art sculpture of the conference. Thank you.
I'd like to suggest we're going to do drumming next with Charles. Would you like